Just a few notes before I get started. I'm a victim of stepfather-esque child abuse. I lived in fear most of my young life. At times, I hated getting up in the morning. I lived through it. Others do not, but I was lucky enough to make it through. I have scars. I have problems. I say this because what I'm about to read to you might be unfair. I'm going to toss around accusations that I really have no actual proof to give you. Maybe I'll be wrong for doing this. Maybe I haven't learned the real lesson that is taught in the case of the West Memphis 3, but a beast has come out in me. A terrible beast, and I'm pinning it on a man that reminds me of some of my most disturbing memories. I apologize now if you don't agree with where my mind is at. I'm mixed up, very emotional. But this is my intro to West of Memphis. A very tough assignment. Probably the toughest I ever had. Terry Hobbs, my nightmare. Your nightmare. Terry Hobbs. Why? What exactly were you doing the night of May 5th, 1993? Playing guitar? Beating your wife Pam? What exactly were you doing? Chuckling at your disgusting behavior? Terry Hobbs, you are a nightmare. You are a vile creep. Terry Hobbs is a snake. Terry Hobbs is walking around a free man. He slithers and slimes the streets. He is free. He is free, free, free. Amy Berg's 2012 documentary, West of Memphis, explores one of the most interesting and unfortunately sad cases to ever hit the courtrooms in the United States of America. She boldly and patiently tells the story of every individual involved in the murders of 3 young boys in West Memphis, Arkansas on May 5th, 1993. Steve Edward Branch, Christopher Mark Byers, and James Michael Moore were brutally murdered and left to rot at Robin Hood Hills on an evening that would change the lives of not only these 3 poor children, but those of 3 other children, Damian Eccles, Jesse Miss Kelly Jr., and James Baldwin. 3 misfits. 3 teenage boys who were led down a path of corruption and fear sparked by the West Memphis police force, led by the incompetent Chief Inspector Gary Gitchell. It was a witch hunt of the highest order, talking manipulation, lies, fear. It was a travesty, a fool's parade. Monsters, demons, Satan, all of it thrown into a court of law and believed by judge and jury. It was Kafkaesque. Berg's film is honest, sincere. I could sit here and review every detail of this case and its many outcomes, but instead I just challenge you to watch this film and learn. Learn about the West Memphis 3. Learn about these children and their parents. Learn to hate and love John Mark Byers. Learn about Terry Hobbs. Learn about justice or the lack of. Take this journey. It will enter you and not want to leave. You'll read about it. You'll walk down the streets of life thinking about the horror that happened in a place where nothing ever happens. Eccles will move you. They all will. Except Terry Hobbs. He'll destroy you. He'll laugh when he's done, and he'll think he's right. That motherfucker. Terry Hobbs is a bastard. Stay out of my mind, Terry Hobbs. Get the fuck out. Get out. Dirty piece of low-life shit. I hate you, Terry Hobbs. 6 children lost their lives in this hell. The younger 3, well, they had it worse. The older three, well, they had it bad. Their lives were paused for a very long time. Maybe their lives are still paused. I would like to think otherwise. I hope they are coping. I hope they can smile. I really hope they can sleep. They suffered for a long time. I know it must be tough on them knowing that they have been the focus of an event that should have belonged to the deceased. Those poor children, playing, laughing. No more. They can't anymore. They're dead. Terry Hobbs, he's alive. Alive and well. Hopefully, your time may be running out, Terry Hobbs. No more laughing. No more drinking. No more guitars. No more. Just tell the truth. Let these children have peace. Let them be free. Let them live. West of Memphis, 2012. Also, check out the Paradise Lost trilogy. Thanks for listening. My love and honesty go out to all 6 of these children. And this show is dedicated to all of them. Love, with honor, with justice. And there we have it.
Jeez, Tom. So so when you see this, do you just, when you were watching this, was that ever the only thing that was, not the only thing, but was your personal experience that was never far from your mind? That just took me completely off guard.
I think mean, it's just here's the terror that has just invaded me, like over the past week, was just Terry Hobbs. Just like it just dawned on me how much he just looks like my mother's ex-boyfriend for some reason. Whether he does or not, he does. He really does.
Is his behavior similar in some respects?
Yeah, that bastard is. I know that guy, man, because I lived with that guy. You know, I lived with that guy. I'm not saying that the guy that I lived with is capable of murder, and I feel really bad.
Yeah, and
for pointing my finger at this dude without really, like watching him sit through a trial and gathering all the facts that are necessary. And trust me, I cut my review like by a third because I was really going off, and I was just thinking all day today, and I just for the last time I went back and I'm like, all right, I got to cut this stuff out because it's not fair to do that to anybody, especially since this is what happened.
Oh yeah, we should say that the guy's never been tried or convicted of anything. But that being said, I mean, this guy, like that sort of abuse and the sort of monster that this guy is just beyond abhorrent. I mean, I don't know what happened. Like, to me, the most interesting thing to talk about, the only thing really that we can talk about is you, Tom. You know, I don't know how to even start to talk. It would just seem foolish to talk about the film at this point, to be honest with you. You know what I mean?
It's funny because it's not like, to me, it's like this is the thing. How can I say this, Joe? It's like, it's not a film. Like this shit is like, this is the truest of true, man. You know, these kids, these 6 kids, their lives, 3 were murdered and 3 were put in prison for something that, apparently at this point we all know they didn't do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think all the film, well, the this and the Helter Skelter, they're more documents. Obviously, it's a documentary. It's than a traditional film, even to say for a documentary film. So, geez, I know Max.
I can't approach this movie like this film like as if it's a film. I don't know. I'm like living I'm just like living a nightmare here with this whole.
Yeah, it's just funny because I didn't have such a personal reaction to it. Like I felt distance from it, and it's a shame on me for not I was affected by the film, but nowhere near to the effect as affected as you were. You know what I mean? So. Do you live with that demon every day?
Yeah, my brother and I do, and My brother Chris and I do, not Jeffrey. Jeffrey and I,
Jeff didn't have
we
this.
had different mothers. Yeah, so we do, and the only way we cope with it is by making a mockery out of it, like making comedy out of it.
Yeah.
Joking around about it. But I don't think I've ever dealt with it. And my brother Chris, he had it far worse than I ever had it by far, because, he wasn't good in school, or he wasn't good in sports, and I could get away with certain things because I was smarter and because I was more athletic, and this dude used to abuse my brother horribly, like just horribly, like I mean horribly, mentally and physically, and my mother too, physically. I mean, he broke both of my mother's arms. In
This
one
is
beating.
Jesus.
Like not like, well, he broke one arm in June and then the next one in December. Like, he just broke both of her fucking arms. The motherfucker stepped on a kitten purposely. My brother and I had, a little kitten, black and white kitten.
Jesus.
Stepped on it. And his response when we said, "Why did you do that?" He said, "Tough shit."
Oh my God. Where's this person now?
Oh, fucking, who knows? Who knows? And that's the thing that I fucking can't stand, Joe, because this prick who was involved in my life for 6 years, between 7 and 13, the most crucial years. And he's nobody. He's fucking nobody. And he just shit all over me.
Yeah, and you live with it like it's a part of you. And it's not even that you live with it. It's like a part of you.
But I'll tell you something funny, Joe. When we were, we were both living in New Brunswick, New Jersey at the time. I was about 20 years old. We probably had just met, and I was walking down Easton Avenue over by Stuff Your Face early in the morning.
Yeah,
and
you saw him.
And I saw him, and I walked right by him, and he said, "Hey, Tommy," and I didn't recognize him immediately, and I said, "Holy shit," because I was 6-7 inches bigger than him. At this point, because he was just such a monster to me, like this huge monster, and now here I am towering over him.
So now, do you play that in your head, that meeting, and you wish that you wish you punched him? Because I know you didn't do it. I know you dismissed him.
That's the thing. I did.
Yeah,
I did. I just dismissed it, and I just was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Blah blah blah. And I was cordial. I was kind. And what was I gonna do, Joe? What was I gonna hit the punch?
Well, no, I know. Well, you're not a violent person,
No, not at all. Oddly enough.
But you do have rage in you, for sure.
I do.
Yeah. You should. Well, I don't want to. I'm not sure where to go with this. I can't. How about this? Max? Do you think that Tom would benefit from some sort of therapy?
Oh, absolutely. And I want to know how Tom, because I don't get the feeling that you're really close to your mom.
No.
Because it's has it kind of been a sea of jerks since?
They've always been jerks. Bad.
Yeah.
Just bad.
Even the new guy, though? Even the most recent guy?
Guy is the best by far. Her new husband. By far. It wouldn't even be listen, he's a jerk in his own way, but he's not violent or intentionally cruel. You know what I'm saying? He could be, a little messed up at times, but no, he has a heart, which the others, really didn't. I think my dad has a heart. I think he's just lazy and fucked up, but the other ones are just all completely insane, just bad. And I don't get it.
We're talking about the dad that lives with you now, Thomas?
Yeah.
Now, did Thomas know what was going on with your mom and your Terry?
No, he had not. He was out completely. When I was about 6, when my mom first started seeing this dude, he made it clear that he was like, if I'm going to be involved with you and your kids, I don't want their father involved at all. So my father, this is fine with my father. He didn't put up a fight. He wanted it. He was like, my dad was like, oh, great. I could just, spend my paycheck on drugs and alcohol, so he didn't give a fuck. But no, he wasn't I'm about 7 years old. I'd stopped seeing my dad, and I didn't see him again until I was 18.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow. I do really identify though, Tom, obviously with you and a horrific, well, it's a boyfriend you say, but my mom was married to my Terry Hobbs, for lack of a better description.
Yeah.
But yeah, like after my dad died, my mom had a year or two, and then she hooked up with a dude who was abusive and horrible and violent and did horrible things to us. And I watched him throw my mom down the stairs. I watched him tell me that they were getting a divorce because it was my fault. And I mean, he hated my guts.
Jesus.
And he pummeled me. And it's so funny because you talk about
he hit you.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Oh, I was beaten like crazy by that dude. Especially, I'll never forget. Maybe you guys recall Alice's Restaurant. It's a film, but it was a real restaurant, right on PCH, Pacific Coast Highway. And the family's there one night. We were celebrating something. I must have been 8, and my grandma cook, my real dad's mom, the saint of my life, this amazing woman, had flown out from Lansing, Michigan, and she would always fly out to see me, and she would stay with us. And one night it's a Sunday night, and we're all hanging out as a family there in the restaurant having dinner. And I started to goof off or do some routine or something, and I didn't even see it coming. The dude would say things like lightning will strike, and that meant that he was going to hit me. And the dude hit me so hard in my chest. He punched me in the chest when I was 8. My breath left, and I couldn't breathe. And my grandma, who was like 4 feet tall, stood up so fast that her seat fell back, and her little freckled arm was up because she was going to hit this guy, Phil, the demon, And I'm on the ground writhing, and my mom is freaking out, and, she's a nurse, but my mom was so scared of him. I mean, it got to the point where if it wasn't for my now stepdad, because he would deliver, he would pick up tests. My mom was a nurse, worked at a doctor's office. She met my stepdad because he was the delivery boy for the lab. So he would pick up all the specimens and bring them to the lab, and they kind of hit it off. Well, my stepdad was a 3rd-degree black belt, and he was really attracted to my mom at the doctor's office, and they got to know each other. And once she told him, when he started to find out the shit that my, stepdad Phil was doing to my mom in the house in Woodland Hills, he got very, very, very vengeful. And I mean, this guy would unplug my mom's battery in her car so she'd have to walk to work, But my stepdad managed to get her out of there. But the point is, Tom, I totally identify with what you're talking about. I totally can see why you saw all those horrors in A Man Like Hobbs. It's so tough because I was really surprised by the Terry Hobbs revelations in this film, because I have not been with this case, but I've been so into this world for so long now.
Me too. And that's, Max, and I don't mean to cut you off there. Me too. And it just, it changed. It just changed. Like the whole Terry Hobbs thing, I just saw a different person, and I saw that person that I despise the most in life.
It's so hard because we want to pin it on buyers. We want to pin
always
it on something. I never thought it was the boys. I mean, I thought it was a really bad idea. I love the Paradise Lost films, except for part 3. I thought was redundant, but I just, because he said it, that Damien holding up that fucking mirror in court and combing his hair like a arrogant asshole, he regrets moves like that. That did not help him. Okay. But the point is, we want someone to pin this on. And the frustrating part, Tom, and this is something you might have to eat, is that we may never get a trial. Even though Berg did this documentary, even though, Peter Jackson comes out of the clouds, Mr. Moneybags, and makes all these awesome things happen. I thought it was kind of a commercial for Peter Jackson, by the way. But the fact is, all of these great things happen to get the guys out of jail, but we may never get justice on this case.
Closure.
That's what's so fucked.
Closure's not going to happen.
No, I don't think it can happen legally speaking, and I could be off here. I'm obviously not a lawyer, but I think because of the way that absurd fucking plea that the penal system made those boys
The Alfred,
enter.
the Alfred plea.
Yeah, so the Alfred plea basically inhibits anybody else from pleading guilty to that same crime. You can't have two people pleading guilty. And so whatever the fuck that Alfred plea is, they said that they're guilty but not guilty or something. I mean, it's like a friggin' comedy, the way that they had to phrase their guilt or whatever. But I think that that's going to inhibit anybody from being persecuted
Well,
further
if
for
if
this.
you were these
Prosecuted.
kids, if you were these kids and you had spent the last 20 years,
Of course, of
right, you would
course.
do it, right,
Of
Joe?
course, of
Well,
course.
one of them didn't want to. Baldwin was like, he's like, screw that. He's like, I'd rather take my chance. They were gonna get a new trial. I mean, that was gonna happen. They were going to get a new trial, but then they would have had to have gone through the process. Who knows how long? They might have been in prison another year, maybe two more years before they got out. The other two were like, we want to get out now. We've done enough. The one kid was like, let's do this the right
Yeah.
way.
See, to me, and this is funny because when I watched the film, Tom, the monster, and of course I'm just not seeing it, and it's bad viewing and bad watching on my part. But to me, the monster was the fucking penal system.
Yeah,
It was the Arkansas penal system.
it's
and the
Absolutely.
justice,
it's that. Yeah.
you know, and I left being like just completely like disgusted by that Hobbs dude, but it was just weird. I just totally got blindsided by your review because I was so focused by the absurdity and the hypocrisy involved with that politics and whoever that guy was,
Sure.
the senator or whatever, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Where's Grim on all this? Happy Halloween!
I've been in complete audience mode for the last 15 minutes. I forgot I was part of the show.
How we
I thought I
sounded,
was just
Billy?
listening to it. It's dark, man. But Tom, I knew you were gonna have that reaction to it, man. About midway through when they steered it into the Terry Hobbs territory, I was like, this is gonna fuck Tom up, man.
wow.
But I think a delineation needs to be made. One is that it's still a movie, and yeah, they built all this evidence against this guy within the movie against Terry Hobbs,
Right.
but reality is a very slippery thing. You don't even have to like the guy. He could be an abusive asshole in real life and anything, but none of us have ever met him, and probably none of us ever will, and who knows what went on that night.
Absolutely.
Right? So in a way, I think that the movie treads some dangerous water because it's about freeing three guys who were scapegoated, and the movie itself runs into scapegoating this other dude.
I know, and
Yeah.
this is,
And-
I felt you're so right, Billy, and this is the
great
thing I've
point.
been struggling with the past 48 hours is like I can't go on this show and sit here and say
Right.
that this guy.
But I feel
is a
like when
murderer.
you're repeating his name over and over again, I don't even hear or see that guy. I see the mythological evil stepfather
Yeah.
that has been plaguing children for centuries.
And that's what I think.
right? To
Like,
the
I
point
could
that
just
there
say
was
Freddy
actually
Krueger.
a medieval
Right.
there's actually a medieval fairy tale character, the evil stepfather, right? So obviously for a long time these bullies have been shitting on the kids who've been entrusted to their care, and that's like I think that just cut through any perception you would have of the movie and just triggers that awful fucking reaction, you know. So I mean,
Yeah,
I just think two different things, you know.
Yeah, well, just to that point, I mean, it's the same sort of thing that we were talking about with religious and documentaries, and it's just the danger of documentary filmmaking in general and the power of cinema and how persuasive it can be and how powerful it is to sway our perception of reality. I mean, that's basically what cinema
Well,
does,
because
you know?
they scapegoated those three kids because they dress funny, they're kind of gothy, and they keep a weird book with a pentagram on it, right? And so that was an unpopular cliche at that time and place. And then this documentary comes along, and you've got a probably abusive redneck asshole. And now in our enlightened, 2012, 2013, that's an unpopular guy. America is under this, evil redneck phase. So he's an easy target.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
and again,
the filmmaking itself is just powerful for that, because it does
right,
convince you the hell out of you that
right,
this dude is the guy. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So
Because
like
they're
the
giving
movie
you,
itself is supremely effective, you know, in
And
doing
I
that.
thought
So I mean,
the power of the power of filmmaking is as dangerous as the power of the Arkansas penal system because of its ability to convince with if you have the right audience, right? So the audience in that courtroom was able to be convinced that these three kids did what they did, and you, as an audience watching this movie, are able to be convinced of the guilt of this other
yeah,
guy.
all you have to do is have like any good film. All you have to do is have an audience who's, you know, plunked down their $5 or whatever and is willing to believe the story that they're about to hear. And essentially, what I put, one of the main things, notes that I took, was that what we had here was a culture who wanted to see that Satanism was involved here, because it's a culture steeped in religion and
Mm.
just and completely blinded by religion and this is actually what I thought Tom was going to go to, was that
and we're talking about the Bible Belt here.
yeah, and this is actually what I thought the point, your angle was going to be, Tom. What I was anticipating was that what we had here was a community so with the Bible so far up their ass that they couldn't even take a look at anything with any sort of objectivity, and they convinced themselves that it was these kids with their Satanism, which is freaking ludicrous. I mean,
The best sequences in this movie are hands down. And I by the way, I really like this movie, and I was it had been on my list to watch for a while, and I was glad to push it up to the number one spot.
And you've seen Paradise Lost, Billy?
No, I never saw any of those. I didn't really know too much about this case, to be honest with you. So I came in with pretty fresh eyes. My favorite portions of this documentary, the best parts of it probably, are those in which they systematically dismantle the ridiculousness of the occult Satanism angle. They're like, okay, here's what the cops didn't do, A, B, C, D, and E, and here's what could actually happen, and here's the way the guys actually behaved. And then you realize, oh my God, like a few simple nudges here and there, and an entire community believed that there was a satanic cult ready to bang down their back door and steal their babies.
And the sexual mutilation.
And the whole, I mean, I guess we're not too worried about spoilers or anything,
No.
but I mean, all that forensic shit about, oh yeah, you dump a couple of bodies in a pool full of snapping turtles. Hey, you know, shit can happen, I guess.
The thing about Hobbs, though, which I think is different than, you know, what you guys are saying about how, you know, well, with the West Memphis 3, it was certainly a witch hunt. What this film does is it offers you certain facts that you should be enlightened by. Say that one of the kids who wasn't, you know, Hobbs's kid had his DNA under his shoelaces, you know, or there were Hobbs family members that revealed that there was a Hobbs family secret involving the fact that Harry Hobbs admitted to his brother that he had committed these murders.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true.
The evidence as presented in the documentary is pretty damning.
Yeah.
And at the very least, I mean, Errol Morris did the Thin Blue Line and got a guy freed from prison and, you know, started new legal proceedings. At the very least, there should be an investigation into the guy, right? I mean,
But it's
not going to happen
Yeah.
because of the plea deal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, just stepping one more point about the power of this film and how persuasive and manipulative, and I don't mean that as a bad thing, but in a good way, is that I didn't know anything about this case either, really, or very little bit about this case before the movie, and they had me convinced that it was Satanism in the first 10 minutes of the film, and then as it slowly unravels, I start realizing what's going on there, and because they had me convinced in the first 10 minutes, it made my turn to my feeling the opposite point of view that much more effective, and made me believe it that much more powerfully that it was the opposite, because they changed my mind as an audience member, you know what I mean? So it's just really, really strong filmmaking all around here.
Yeah, she's definitely. I mean, it was Peter Jackson. Is that Peter Jackson's wife that produced this as well? Is that Fran?
Yeah.
Fran
Walsh,
Walsh, yeah.
So
They've been together since Heavenly Creatures.
right. So they're involved, and obviously a slew of celebrities. And who did they show, Joe? Eddie Vedder, the Dixie Chicks,
Henry Rollins.
Max, your favorite, Johnny Depp.
Oh shit! I'm gonna show up and Oh shit! Yeah, let's get all the hot celebrities, all the cool, funky celebrities to show up and
Well, how
help
come
the
none of
boys
the
out
ugly
and
ones?
take
Yeah.
them shopping. No ugly celebrities.
No ugly people. Like Michael Berryman's
All the
not
cool
there.
people: Natalie Maines, Eddie Vedder, Johnny Depp, Henry Rollins. All the cool motherfuckers showed up for those three.
I know, and you know, man, I always have a complete opposite reaction than what's intended. As soon as people start showing up for like celebrities, I automatically start becoming more and more skeptical the more people who show
Yeah,
up.
I become pretty. I start to be very dismissive at that point.
Oh, this was
But
such
it
a trendy
it works,
case. Are you
man.
fucking kidding? This case was so trendy for so many years. And it is. It's a case of injustice. I'm glad the dudes are free.
Yeah.
But it's just like the version of Satanism that all these dumb shits were falling for is like Walmart Satanism. It's so funny because
Yeah.
if I was to ever admit that I've never explored Satanism, for the record. However, if you listen to a guy like Anton LaVey, do you know who he is?
No.
I should send you the 11 Rules of Satanism. This is a guy who simply says, and he wrote this.
Max, I thought you don't even you've never explored Satan.
No, he's never explored it.
But yeah, he has the
No.
11 rules.
If I was to
No.
say that I cut a kitten's throat, my bad.
No. According to Anton LaVey's Church of Satan, and this was a fucker that had a lot of and this ties into Manson with Sadie Atkins, but she rolled with this dude a bit. She stripped for him in his strip club. But Anton was based out of San Francisco in the 60s, and he wrote a list of how to be the perfect Satanist. And you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe this list. You know, leave people alone. Let people be. Don't harm animals. Don't do this. Don't do that. Just be cool. I mean, it was like the greatest list ever, but it had his name on it, you know? And it's like so many people. That's what I loved about this, because I've been dressing in black since I was in elementary school. So, you know, I identified initially with these dudes. And I got to say, fellas, I got to say that the Berlinger-Sanofsky docs are really what you should see, because they're much more straightforward. And even though those dudes had access to the court proceedings, and even though they had access immediately to the families, it kind of annoys me a little bit that West of Memphis became the pivotal doc for these guys when Berlinger and Sanofsky had paved the way.
Those are the
More than a
Paradise-
decade
Paradise
before
Lost.
for this other doc.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 decades almost, Max.
Totally.
I mean, they were on this, like, what, maybe a year or 2 tops?
If it wasn't for them, those dudes would not be free. It was those Paradise Lost films
I agree.
that knocked people out and made people question the case and made things happen in Memphis. It was not West of Memphis. West of
Did
Memphis.
they have the support of Peter Jackson and Johnny Depp and Eddie Vedder?
No. All they had was the support of HBO. That's it.
West of Memphis shows up. Hey, look at me! I'm the guy. We brought the turkey to the table, not you.
Well, in this movie, Max, they were saying how it was the first serial killer case to be investigated by crowdsourcing or whatever, or you know, I guess that's a real push button kind of phrasing there. But were those Paradise Lost movies? Was that the crux of them? Is that the people?
No, they were produced by HBO.
Okay, but they weren't like citing all this information that people found from.
Well, the second one, Max, that they had, there was. I think it had gotten to that point, right? The second Paradise Lost. I mean, there was that. You know, the internet was
yes,
really
that's
booming.
what that film is about. The
Right.
internet was just exploding and happening, and this case had really hit the web and message boards and chat rooms and all that. You know, declaring innocence and you know, Eccles had a lot of. At that point, he had a voice because he was in solitary. He was suffering. He was made a bitch. but he was reading, he was changing, and he became a very charismatic, almost, dare I say, kind of, religious figure for a lot of people. Like he was a real messianic figure for a lot of misfits.
Sure.
And there is some definite, with West of Memphis, there is some definite satisfaction with those dudes being free at the end. And I have to say that since West of Memphis, I'm really impressed by the fact that it ain't like Jason Baldwin has showed up on Letterman. I mean, these guys have been really subdued. I think they're just happy to be free. I think they're just staying out of trouble. I mean, obviously they're going to be writing their books, but
yeah,
I want to bring this up because I don't know if Joe and Billy, I don't know if they brought this up in West of Memphis, but there was another, not Mark Byers, not Hobbs, but there was another really weird incident where some black dude showed up.
Yes.
Oh, the Mr. Bojangles angle?
That was in the first one. That was the Max, that was in the first Paradise Lost.
Correct.
What? The what?
There was, Max, go explain this. This is interesting.
Yeah, there was an incident at a fast food restaurant that night, like right by the little creek or whatever, where the boys were killed, though if they were killed early.
Hills, yeah.
In Robin Hood Hills, where the manager of this fast food restaurant walked into the men's room and there was a black dude in there who was covered in blood and acting very, very strange. And yeah, the chain or the restaurant was called Mr. Bojangles, right?
Yeah.
But that
because it was the name of the restaurant was Bojangles that this guy stumbled into. And he's covered in blood and goes and washes himself off and then leaves and no one ever sees again. So they thereafter referred to him as Mr. Bojangles.
Now, I think if this story is that popular, if this story has produced this much attention and this many movies, I want the Mr. Bojangles movie because I feel like that has been slipped. It's crazy. Like, where the fuck was he? What was he about? He was covered in mud and filth and blood. Who is he? What happened? How many people were involved in the murder of these 3 children?
Yeah, could you imagine if that's what it came down to?
Wow.
There's a whole fucking slew of people.
Because they keep it in town. They always wanted it to be somebody in that town that did it. And what if it was just some drifter?
Yeah.
I don't know, man, but God, we're sitting here talking about it, aren't we? And we're sitting here talking about it because they've made 19 movies about this fucking case. Because the case sells. Because it's compelling, and it's dark, and it's weird, and it's sad. And I'm just wondering, when's it going to end? I read The Devil's Knot, and now they're making a movie about that.
It's coming out. It's going to be out.
A narrative film about this case, fellas.
Oh, is that right? When is that? Who's doing that?
Oh, it'll be directed by so-and-so, and it'll star Robert
Johnny.
No, Reese Witherspoon is the star of it. That I do know. She plays Pam Hobbs, but
yeah. Meanwhile, 3 dead kids are buried, and I think
so. Max, why pick this movie? Why is this movie important to you?
Well, listen. Was it the first theme Tom didn't like?
No, I loved your initial theme.
You wanted to pick Vacation for the first theme, right, Max?
Yeah, I wanted to do. No, Tom suggested we do West of Memphis because I know he was so affected by the Hobbs thing. But guys, I gotta tell you, I just think we need to talk about this, or needed to rather. I think we needed to talk about this case. And I know why. I got it, Billy. I got it. I think this is the Halloween show. And I think it's based on true crime films. And I also think that the true realities, and I think it's getting so much worse. I love now, I subscribe to the Times. I love that I open every morning and the shooters of people are getting younger and younger and younger. I mean, we're down to a 5-year-old who pulled out a babysitter's gun and blew his head off. I mean, it's unbelievable how the true horrors of the world are more evident than ever. And these are 3 really great stories.
Well, in fairness to the 5-year-old, he had been playing Grand Theft Auto since the age of 3, so I think he felt that he had a pretty good hand on how to manage a
This
weapon.
world is so fucked in the ass. It is amazing to me. And there is a dread in the air that I have never experienced in my now 43 years. I've never heard more people talk about how isolated they have become from their fellow man, how fearful they have become of going outside. It's crazy, especially out here. What about you guys?
I blame Skype.
I mean, Joe.
Yeah.
You send your babies to school every
You
day.
know, man, I honestly, to be honest with you, Max, I think, look, I can make a joke out of it. Just shut yourself off from the world like I do. It's very simple, man. I just I don't want to.
Don't go on the internet for 6
Dude,
hours
listen,
a day.
it's the same. Look, I always bring food into the analogy, right? Because I remember I was just listening to that mimosa thing. You know, you don't want to feel like shit. You don't want your body to fucking fall apart. Don't put fucking fast food into your body every day. You don't want to. You don't want your soul to rot away. Don't put the shit that they put on the TV into your head every day. It's very simple, man. So dude, look, but your world is what you make it, man. I mean, I don't sit around with my kids and watch and let them play video games 700 hours a week. I don't let them fucking watch TV. I don't watch reality. I've never watched one episode of. Look, maybe I've seen little bits and pieces of reality TV. I don't put that shit into my head, man. I don't put it into my head. I don't put it into my family's head. And so I have.
When you send your kids out to school every day, are you
Dude,
not?
my kid, dude, no. Look, because I'm not in constant fear by what the media is telling me. One person and a zillion, you know, and then everybody thinks it's everybody, and then people start getting in their heads. I don't live in that world, man. And you listen. That's not to say something terrible can't happen. But I don't live in constant dread. I don't. I refuse to. So I have 2 kids who are excelling in every possible respect, and I don't live in a state of constant fear. I live very simply.
I actually love hearing this, by the way.
Yeah, it's true,
I don't
man.
talk to a lot of. I don't get to talk to a lot of people that will be honest with me. You know, who are
look,
parents.
it's there, dude. It's there, and I get it, and I understand that certain precautions need to be taken, but you can't live in a state of fear because of what the because.
Well, I don't give a shit because I'm ready to die tomorrow. But Joe, my point is, how do you continue to maintain a faith in humanity the way you do? Because that's what that sounds like to me.
Because he doesn't watch The Celebrity Apprentice, Max.
That's true, man. I don't think.
You're missing out on Gary Busey and Penn Jillette fulfilling a task.
I'm not training myself to believe that the most important thing is to be on television. Or, you know, I don't believe that there's a fucking stalker around every corner because it just doesn't work like that.
Well, that's because Joe is the stalker.
If you look at Joe, he's a smiley, hippie, beachy dude.
Listen, and that's not to say tragedy can't. That's not to say tragedy can't befall me at any minute. I understand that fully, but why? What would be the point of living in constant fear of it? I don't get it.
Here's the dark little secret of all of that is that it's egotistical and it's narcissistic. What no one tells you about it is that if you think something is going to happen to you at every minute of the day, it's a little ego trip that you give yourself because you think that. You think that there is a stalker out there around the corner waiting to nail you. You think that you're going to be there to see the end of the world. And that's like a little ego trip that the 15 minutes of fame culture gives you.
Right.
And
that's why all those religious fanatics think that, you know,
but
the
it's empty
apocalypse is going to
calories,
happen
man.
in their lifetime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's
and that's why, Max, you're feeling. Listen, man, I don't know. Look, I don't. All I know is you from the few months that I've known you, obviously. But
few months.
You're like if you're constantly obsessed with, you know, the news feed and this and that and the other thing and what's most important.
I'm not obsessed with the news feed.
You're obsessed with killing cases. Let's just put it that. Let's say that right now.
Joe, what's the news feed?
Do you mean death?
Yes, death.
Joe, I never look at the Facebook news feed if that's what you mean. I read the LA Times, but I don't look at the news feed anymore.
Okay,
is that what you mean?
Let me ask you, why do you think the world, let me just turn the tables. Why do you think the world's such a horrible...
Because I think human beings are absolutely hateful, man.
It's not true, man. Look, we never knew each other, but now fast forward a year, I could sit down with you and have a beer and share, have really
Yeah,
warm.
I like. You get a pass. The three of you get a pass.
Well,
Joe.
most would get a pass.
But everyone else is producing odor and killing and
Max loves everyone. He just doesn't like to admit it because all the cool people are filled with hate, and he wants to hang out with the cool people.
I will say it is some of those scenes in that movie were frigging in that trailer park were very frightening. That was maybe the most frightening thing when the retarded kid went into that trailer park and
you can't say retarded, Joe.
Don't say that.
Oh, didn't they say he was mildly retarded?
He's
had a low
like
IQ.
borderline. Yeah, he's like his IQ is in the 70s. But hey,
someone said borderline retarded.
if Tom can accuse Terry Hobbs of murder, I think Joe can call that kid retarded.
Either borderline retarded or something like that or whatever.
Listen, the one thing that this movie's missing, Max, is John Mark Byers.
I know.
There is not enough John Mark Byers.
Enough Byers. I mean, you've got gold. I used to think Byers
gold, exactly.
And then I fell in love with Byers.
Yes.
You can go to hell! There is nothing more joyous than Paradise Lost 2 Revelations.
Absolutely. Is that where he lights the fire?
Oh, he lights the fire and he pulls out his teeth and he's sitting there with his buddies. And I mean, it is the Mark Byers show. And all at once, I'm feeling guilty because I'm loving his performance. And at the same time, I am sickened that I am loving his performance.
Yeah.
A Celebrity Apprentice. I mean, listen. This is Rome, and I am going to be a viewer. But hey, Joe, let me tell you something. It's our job it's our job to reflect on all this shit, right?
Sure.
We're artists, we're writers, we're whatever. I mean, I would never call myself an artist because I think I'm shit. But it's our job to do this stuff. Billy takes his photos. Tom does his podcast. You write your novels. I mean, I'm not saying we're above anyone or an exclusive club, but at least we have that gift of being able to take all of this shit in and turn it somehow into something creative and interesting. Mm-hmm. I don't know that it's interesting, but you know what I'm saying?
Well, sure, man. I mean, there's a few facets to that. I mean, we're basically the art is a way to understand the world for sure. And whether you're creating it or you're consuming it, it's healing. Obviously, especially for me, especially creating.
There are too many people. Don't you believe that there should be regulations on how many kids you can have? Don't you believe that there are rules to be followed at this point?
Max, dude, I can't. I don't want to start getting on a soapbox. It's too early in the show, man.
All right,
look, regulation. Here's what I wish. I wish people would take more responsibility from themselves and consider their actions and their behavior in a more critical and responsible manner. How about that?
That sounds great. Let me just tell you something. I have to go pick up my wife's car from Firestone, okay. But I want to tell you that Cassidy from Firestone just called, and it's a chick, and she goes, "Hi, is this Max?" I said, "Yeah." "Hi, Max. This is Cassidy from Firestone." She was talking like this. Oh. I said, Hi, Cassidy. I just want to let you know that your car is ready. Oh, cool. Let me ask you something. How late are you open? I'm open until 7. You're open until 7?
Hello, I dropped out there. I'm sorry.
Boner deflation.
Sorry. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up West of Memphis.
Wait, one more point about West of Memphis, guys.
Sure.
Didn't you think it was an infomercial for Peter Jackson a little bit?
Oh, for all of them.
For him, none of this shit would have happened.
Yeah.
Was this made before or after that god awful movie about the rape and murder and afterlife of that teen girl?
Oh, after.
Long after.
Yeah.
Hey, Billy.
So this was his apology for that. And hey, I'm not an asshole. Look, I help real people in real life.
Billy, listen, one of the worst.
Those 3 little boys are having a great time in their Crayola-covered heaven. Don't you worry.
Billy, can you imagine how many Gandalf dolls paid for West of Memphis?
Yeah. I don't have anything against Peter Jackson. I just think that movie he made before that was incredibly irresponsible and full of
You
shit.
really hated that movie.
I do remember you hating that. That was the first episode we talked about that. We never got around to it because I was curious to hear what you had to say.
For the listeners, which film are we talking about?
God, Tom.
Heavenly Creatures,
No,
no?
not Heaven.
No.
No.
Based on the novel, The Girl Who Gets Raped.
With
Stanley
Stanley Tucci.
Tucci.
Tucci's awesome in that movie.
Oh,
Yeah, The Lovely Bones.
There you go.
The Lovely Bones. Yeah, truly horrific. Anyway, Max has to pick up his car, I think.
Yes, and
8 column posters paid for West of Memphis.
we need to get ready for Helter Skelter.
Yeah, well, okay, so sorry, Tom.
No, go ahead. God damn it!
I'm sorry. The one thing that we didn't talk about, which I thought we would talk about, are murder groupies. But I guess Manson has his share of those.
Oh, does he ever?
Murder groupies like Max and Tom.
yeah, and that lady in the movie who had like.
What are you calling me a murder groupie for, Billy?
You guys know this case so well. You're like, oh, I really wish this character had been in the movie because you know that. Oh my God, yeah, in that time that he. Oh, I know, totally.
Dude, you know what was the most appalling scene though in this movie? For some reason, I cannot get the vision of Eddie Vedder sitting in the front row in the courtroom when they.
Oh, that is a really awful shot.
Oh, Billy, how horrible is that?
He looks so concerned, so concerned.
And I'm gonna help them save the West Memphis 3. Oh yeah, I grow my hair. I'm gonna play the ukulele. Oh my God, I'm gonna sing songs and save.
But you
Yeah, you totally got to drop a ukulele track behind that last bit.
You say that well these guys are they're kind of out of the out of the public eye right now. Yeah, that's because assholes like Depp and Vedder do all the talking for them.
Listen, I love those dudes, but they are annoying.
I love those dudes.
Yeah, so in conclusion, fuck you, Eddie Vedder and Johnny Depp.
Fuck Billy Graham. He don't like me. I'm gonna grow a beard and play surfboards. Oh yeah.
Max, go see Candace. Go get your Cassidy, rather. Go get your goddamn car.
He's open until 7.
Billy Grimm is going to introduce the evil Reverend Billy Grimm is going to introduce Helter Skelter. That's up next. Billy, take it, dude.